Welcome to 1850 Main Street, a place where friends get together and talk about their country and hope for a brighter future. Your hosts have built this spot over the past 40 years, meeting every day with people who are in the headlines and behind the real stories. Today, Rob Walgate from the American Policy Roundtable and Alan C. Duncan, executive producer of the Public Square Media Network, are at the table by the fireplace.
Have you ever overindulged? If the answer is no, you may want to think again.
Alan, could we put this under the headline, "This is why we can't have nice things"?
Well, that might be begging the question, is this a nice thing to have? This might call into question the whole thing.
Well, I think there's positives. I mean, like anything, there's positives and negatives. But as humans, whenever we get something, we want to take it to excess, right? We want to overindulge. Just last night at my house, my mother-in-law makes a pineapple cake. You think I could have like one piece?
Is there any of that pineapple cake left?
No, here's the thing. We brought the whole thing to our house, and they were coming over today to have some of it. And I look up, and there was like a quarter of it left. Rachel goes, "What did you guys do?" But I that's human. I hate to say it. That tends to be human nature. Like we just overindulge, especially today in our society, that instant gratification society. If something's there, you just want more, it seems like.
Well, okay. So what we're talking about is a New York Post headline, New York Post article. Read the headline here. It says, remote Amazon tribe finally connects to the internet, only to wind up hooked on porn and social media. So that's what we're talking about.
Like the rest of civilization.
Yeah.
So a remote Amazon tribe, they were able to get hooked up to the internet because of Starlink, which we know Starlink has done some amazing things.
Sure, helped Ukraine.
Yes, around the world.
Yeah, Elon Musk, Starlink.
That technology is amazing. So this remote tribe.
The Marubu tribe, I believe it's pronounced. And there's an interesting fact that's come out about them. They're known to be a particularly chaste tribe, as they're defined. They weren't about sexual licentiousness, or they're not even allowed to kiss in public. So it's a very reserved, chaste tribe, and now they find themselves their youths are addicted to looking at all of these sexually explicit images online now.
Well, that's the one article that I read regarding this. That's what it said. It said they're afraid the young men will try and act out some of the things that they are seeing and are hooked on and are addicted to. And you have to you're like thinking, all right, they get hooked on the internet or they get access to the internet and it's at their fingertips. And that's what they become hooked on. Number one, but number two, that's what they found on the internet. Or did they find that, or did that find them? That's the difference, because you brought up before we did the show, the article that you're reading.
The article I'm reading can't be more than 600 words long, something like maybe 1,000, but it's spread over. I'm scrolling and scrolling to get to the next piece of content because I'm going through ad after pop-up ad and they're flying it in front of what I'm trying to read. There's apps and ads on the sides. You can't just read the article. And so, was it a pop-up ad somebody clicked on? Yeah, that's a good question. What was the first thing somebody clicked on that led them down that dark path, that dark rabbit hole, so to speak?
Yeah, so they're communicating with each other through the WhatsApp. Is that what they're using, that app, to communicate with one another? And that's how they're spending all their time. And they've had to put limits on it so that they wouldn't be on their phones constantly and be on social media and be looking at things they shouldn't be looking at. And again, it's a remote civilization, but when you walk around the day, I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm on my phone entirely too much. When we came to do this broadcast, I told Alan, I said, you know what? I'm going to leave my phone in the other room with my computer, and I'm just going to leave it over there and not be scrolling or messing or typing or try and get away from it.
Well, I think we've lived with it so long. We're kind of like that frog in a pot of water, just getting slowly heated up and, until you don't realize you're boiling. We're able to watch this tribe go from no internet access at all to smartphones overnight. Like, think about that. We had computers in our classrooms at school, and then you had a computer lab at school, and then you got a home computer at some time, and then you got a laptop at some point, and then you got a BlackBerry, and then you had a flip phone, then a BlackBerry, and then finally you got the iPhone. So we've been steadily kind of being exposed to the internet for. Imagine if that would be like that's like someone going forward in time 30 years. And that's what happened to this tribe. They one day they have no internet access. The next day they have smartphones. Think about that. So they also have had no ability to build up any personal responsibility with it. Hopefully, we're able to instill in our children over time, ways to limit screen time. This culture is having to do that overnight in real time, like it's like running on a treadmill. So it's very sad to see what's happened to them. It's totally upended their way of life. One of the people from this tribe said, in the village, if you don't hunt, fish, and plant, you don't eat. It says some young people maintain our traditions. Others just want to spend the whole afternoon on their phones. So this is revolutionizing their way of life.
I was encouraged the other day. I was with, and I know many parents do this, so it is an encouragement. When I was talking with a parent and we were trying to get connected on something, I was introducing their kid to something, and I said, and I did ask the question. I didn't say, "Hey, I assume you have social media." I said, are you allowed to have social media? And the kid was standing there with his dad, 14, 15 years old. It was an athletic thing we were talking about. He's like, "No, I'm not allowed to have it." And I'm like, good. Like, that's a good thing. I was trying to give him something through that, telling him where to look for something. But the fact that he wasn't allowed to have it was a positive, because we know the detriment that we've done shows on the public square to talk about the people that were involved with the creation of social media and how they don't allow their own kids to participate in social media.
Right. Yeah. There is a Netflix documentary called, was it The Social Dilemma? Is that
Social Dilemma, I believe. Yes.
They show footage of scientists describing how to addict people, and they were using that science when they were building a lot of these apps. Things like, pull to refresh. You pull down and then it refreshes new content. Twitter or X has that. Even things like buttons. That kind of stuff releases those dopamine effects and keeps people hooked. And they did it on purpose. And they tell you that they did.
Kind of sounds like a slot machine to me.
You're right. Yeah.
Very similar, right? Mm-hmm. That's the reason when you go into a casino and you see slot machines and there's an action on your part, whether it's pulling a lever. Now, a lot of them are old school and you're tapping something. Or no, that would mean they're new school, not old school.
Yeah, sure.
So they're new school and you're tapping something. And then you get the bright lights. Even when you lose, it's the spinning thing and, it's fast moving, and all to get those senses in a frenzy for that dopamine, for that positive response. And that's a scary thing. They knew exactly what they were doing. And we're seeing it. It's been so detrimental to our young people. I've seen T-shirts and stuff that says, if only our life was just like Facebook. And it was insinuating the fact that everyone puts their best foot forward. You know what I mean? You see everyone on a happy family. You see, it's not real life. It's make-believe. And that's what they were insinuating I saw the person who had the shirt talk about it. Like, hey, what you see on there isn't always real because you don't see it all.
Thanks for stopping by at 1850 Main Street. We're glad you're here. Do you want to learn more about what's really going on behind the scenes in public policy? Tune in to the Public Square on over 200 radio stations coast to coast, or download the free Public Square mobile app from your app store. Just look for The Lamppost. Find out what America's talking about at thepublicsquare.com.
Well, we do know there can be positives. We don't want to be like, hey, let's ban the internet, let's ban social media, but we do need some moderation, especially when it comes to young people, especially when it comes to, all the studies show young females, self-esteem problems they have because of the best foot that's being put forward. Like there's a lot of body image stuff on there that isn't accurate, and there's some shaming that ends up going on. So it's not healthy for young girls, especially, to be seeing that, and living up to an expectation that just isn't reality at the end of the day. But we know there can be positives. We talked about the remote tribe. They talked about how it has been life-saving when they were able to reach medical services from someone with a venomous snake bite. They were able to communicate with the outside world.
Yeah. So that's been good for them. This New York Post article also says members are also able to share educational resources with other Amazonian tribes and connect with friends and family who now live elsewhere. It has also opened up a world of possibilities for young Marubu, some of whom have been unable to conceptualize what lays beyond their immediate surrounds. So it's now I could argue whether that's good or bad, but it is showing them that there's a broader world. Hopefully there can be some missional opportunities. Christian missionaries can maybe leverage the internet. We have our dear friend, John Beckett, has a website, caniknowgod.com, that uses the internet to just explicitly and clearly share the gospel of Jesus Christ with people, and sees millions of site visits and many conversions for Christ on there. So you do hope that, and broadcasts like this,
yeah.
We hope, I don't know that there would be anyone in this tribe that would be particularly interested in current events and things that are happening in America, but we do try to put something good onto the internet. And there are a lot of people who try to do that as well. So I think that's one way you just hopefully can leverage this, this wild, wild west kind of world for something positive.
And that's what it is. It's the wild, wild west. And again, we get back to the protection of young people. I think, though, I hate making predictions, and I don't want to make predictions, but I also do think that we will see, as our children get older, them start to push away a little bit from the smartphone, them start to rebel a little bit and say, wait a minute, look at what was done. Maybe in the sense, dare I compare it to smoking, where you used to see everyone on TV and in movies doing it. Now, some would say, well, there's no positives in smoking. There can be a few positives on the internet. Well, I still think they'll use the internet. I think they'll use social media. I think they'll use smartphones. I think they'll just use them in more moderation, because they will see the decline that's happened in our society, especially when, you're seeing it now. We've seen studies where schools have banned cell phones, not permitted them to be used, and the students end up being okay with it when everyone around them doesn't have it, and they're not looking at that happening all the time.
Yeah, and I think there's just a sense in which sometimes the generation coming up sometimes has to reject certain things that they saw their parents do in excess. Sometimes that can be, sometimes maybe that's bad, a little rebellious streak or whatever might not be great, but sometimes there's a positive. They kind of saw that their parents did some things that they didn't handle it right. Man, my parents are on the cell phone during dinner too much or something. They had the TV on constantly, and there is a rejection of some of that. So that might work in the favor of the next generation as well.
Yeah. Well, and that tribe talked about the fact they weren't outside communicating with others, I think is what the article said, how it described it, like they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They should be conversing with one another. Well, there's only one place that I'm aware of that bans cell phones en masse.
And no one really gets too upset about it, do they?
No one does. And that's Augusta National Golf Club, 1 week a year, the first full week of April at the Masters tournament. Anyone that's been to the Masters knows you're not permitted to take a cell phone on the grounds. No one there has a cell phone. It's very weird to be somewhere without a cell phone for a couple reasons. One, from personal experience, I'm constantly touching my left pocket. At least I used to. You always think like, where is it? Two, everyone's just taking in what is happening and they're present. They truly are present there.
Well, I think that also brings up another point about that, be doing something cool enough to not look at a phone. Be doing something cooler than what you can look at. So if you're at Augusta, you're at one of the most beautiful places on earth. You're watching some of the best golfers in the world play, and it's a historic place. So not every place is going to be that specific thing, but go on an amazing walk as a family. Go to a concert. There are many things. You go to an awesome museum. Go to a sporting event, and put the phone away. So do something cooler than the phone in your hand.
Yeah, very, very well said. That's one of the things, like even when you watch sporting events or concerts now, I look and a lot of people aren't present in the moment because they've got the phone in the air. You look and you see all the phones that are everywhere. And I'm just like, oh man, I hope they're like taking it all in and not worried about, did I get the right angle? Did I video it here? Did I video it there? Because I wonder too, how many people actually go back and watch those or look at those? Or are they just doing it because they were there?
Yeah,
or to put on social media to let everybody else know, do you know where I was today?
Yes. And I've certainly been guilty of doing that myself. But it is you do have to practice self-control. And I think that's one of the big things as we start to wrap up this conversation is the internet's not going away. We're not going to ban it. It's here, but we have to be able to say no. We have to be able to use it well. We have to have self-control. Listen, there's blockers out there for your kids, for yourself. If you got to put up some blockers, block some stuff. They're out there, good Christian resources. So do what it takes to be able to utilize some God-given self-control.
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.